I think if I can just set it up on. It's delayed a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, we can.
Hello everyone. We are just here on behalf of the Woodruff Times newspaper to share with you our excitement, and hopefully you can join us in the excitement of our historic edition on going weekly in publishing the Woodruff Times newspaper. So we have transitioned from a monthly paper to a weekly newspaper, and we are super excited about it and thought we'd come on and share with you some information about what we've included in this week's paper and kind of preview on what we'll have for next week's paper, and just some interesting things that are going on in Woodruff, so that we can also have the opportunity to hear from you, like, tag, and share, as they say, so that we can also hear your comments about what you want to see in the weekly editions of the newspaper. So, Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Sanders, and I am the other half of the Woodruff Times, and we're excited, like Vareva said, to have started our weekly paper. We've gotten a lot of feedback from readers that were wanting more frequent information, so we're giving it a go, and this is our very first issue that came out yesterday, and you can pick it up at the stores, and if you've subscribed, you should have received it in your mailbox today or maybe tomorrow. And so what we're going to just do is just kind of go through it just real quick and talk about some of the things that are in the paper. One of the new news items in the newspaper is the new downtown Woodruff parking lot that is going up direct. We're at Tap 3, by the way. We're at Tap 3, so we're kind of almost looking at where the new parking lot is going to be. And that's over
Behind the bank.
Behind the other side of the street, the buildings on the other side of the street, on Georgia Street, and kind of across from where the old Walgreens was. So the city is putting that parking lot in, and it's going to have an additional, I'm looking at the paper here, it's going to have an additional 54 parking spaces. So that will definitely help out with the downtown parking. I know there's been some people concerned about the downtown parking, so it'll add 54 parking spaces, and depending on the weather, they're hoping that it'll be done sometime in March.
Or early spring.
Early spring.
Or early spring. Because of the weather, you know, they're optimistic that it will be completed in early spring. We had an opportunity to talk with the contractor that's doing that project, and Harrison and Sons Construction, and we had an opportunity to walk through the property with them, the project, and toured and saw some of the layout of what they're doing and some of the equipment that they're using, and it looked real exciting, you know, for people who are interested in construction related projects. I thought it was a very eye-opening experience to see all that went into tearing down, clearing out, and the many different phases of that project and how dependent on weather that project's going to be. But it looks very exciting.
Right, and I believe they told us that it had to be above a certain temperature too before they could lay the concrete.
I think he said, 40 degrees?
Something like that.
Or something like that, that the weather.
For a certain amount of time, and then they could start doing that.
Yes, so it was just very interesting to learn about the different projects that are going on and to get an up-close view and to actually listen to how the project was happening. And, you know, we have in the paper how the project is being funded and some more details about the project. We can't tell you everything that's in the paper in hopes that you'll go by and pick up one. And you can pick up a paper at Food Lion, Circle K, and Dollar General, as well as the mailbox and
Handy Mart.
Handy Mart.
And then the Enoree, we have a couple of locations in Enoree. The Dollar General on 221, and then the Dollar General on Cross Anchor Highway, and then also the Dollar General at the Crossroads in Cross Anchor. All those places carry the newspaper. And too, if you want to subscribe to the newspaper, you can do that by going to our website, www.thewoodrufftimes.com/subscribe. And there's different options on there that you can choose from as far as subscriptions go. So just make sure you look at those and figure out which one you like the best. But if you sign up for that, then you will get the newspaper delivered to your mailbox every week.
Every week.
So we hope to see some new subscribers on there. And again, if you have any other stories or anything like that you think you're interested in and want to hear us talk about, make sure to let us know. And you can send us a message here on Facebook, or you can send us a message using our website as well.
Yep, and then we have Happy Black History Month. We have a couple of stories talking about the contributions of African Americans to our community and to the community at large, in telling the story in a way that frames Black history is American history. The two are not independent, and so we are glad to have been able to attend the MLK tribute and brunch in Washington, D.C. That was a very interesting opportunity. And I think before we start talking about Washington, D.C., I think it's very important for the readers and the supporters to understand that the Woodruff Times newspaper staff, Tracy and I, we were able to attend the presidential inauguration because the Woodruff Times newspaper was selected to cover the newspaper. And we shared several stories about it in previous papers. But it was just for us to be in business for 6 years and to have the privilege and the opportunity to be selected to have press credentials for the presidential inauguration ceremony. It was really a big deal. We were super excited about being able to cover such a historically significant moment. And although, as we tell in the paper, some of the adventures of things changing, it was just super, super important. And then in the paper, Tracy talks about some of her experiences, and I'll talk about some of my experiences there. And hopefully we look forward to seeing what you have to say about those experiences. But it was truly, truly historic. And in, you know, just the spirit of American history, right? Mm-hmm. Seeing on a stage the first Black president in the history of the United States, President Obama, seeing Vice President Kamala Harris on that stage as Vice President, seeing President Trump sworn in as one of the oldest presidents in the country. It was really a historic moment to just watch all of the governmental officials. Mm-hmm.
And we had a little bit of a surprise when we landed. When we left from GSP that morning, and then we landed at Reagan National Airport, mm-hmm. and we turned our Wi-Fi back on our phones and saw the announcement that the inauguration had been switched to indoors. And we were kind of excited about that at that point because we were like, oh, we will be out in the cold.
We won't be so cold. We really thought, well, that is good common sense leadership. That is a great decision.
Yes.
But when we went to pick up our credentials at the state capitol, we went to the state capitol to pick up our credentials, and that's when we were told that how it was going to impact us in our experience changed from the months of planning to what are we going to do now, because we were then told that only the legacy media were going to be allowed into the actual Capitol venue to cover the actual ceremony, and that was a blow. I think we were I was very disappointed that happened. But
the whole reason that we had planned on going in the first place, and then it was kind of like the brakes had been put on, and we had to kind of just readjust the way that we were going to experience this trip that we had planned, and the stuff that we were going to share with you guys too in Woodruff. It was impacted greatly from what the decision had made. But we did get to go into the Capitol Rotunda the day after the inauguration, and the stage was still set up.
Yes.
So we were really able to see how small of an area that actually was. Yes. It was a very intimate setting that they had for the inauguration, and then directly off of that room was the room where they had the luncheon.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and we got to see a little bit of the stuff set up for that, so that was kind of neat.
And then we were on the listserv to receive updates that the press were receiving about the lunch and about the ceremony, and so we were able to receive some of the correspondences that press were provided in covering the event. So it wasn't all lost, but what do entrepreneurs do? We pivot. We figure out how to make lemonade out of lemons. That's what we do. And we really had an amazing, insightful time of learning why other people attend inaugurations, or why people attend the inaugurations anyway. And I thought those personal stories that we were able to capture, and other nation stories that we were able to capture, was really insightful about why people attend the inauguration. This was my third one, and Tracy has a story in the paper. What did she title it?
I can't remember.
An inauguration like no other. A journey to Washington. An inauguration like no other. Because this is your first one.
It was my first one, yeah.
Yeah.
In person, yeah.
Right, in person. And so,
and there were some things that we can talk about too that we didn't put in the paper. We had an adventure. We were about 2.5 blocks away from the Capital One Arena, where they were having the Trump rally the day before the inauguration, and then after the inauguration, where he went for he gave some speeches, and then they had the parade. So we were about 2.5 blocks from there. So if you can imagine the security that was there for that, and that surrounded where we were staying. There were barricades on the other side of the sidewalk. You couldn't like cross the street because there were barricades up all the way across the street. There was no traffic on the road that was going along where our hotel was, because they had that blocked off. So it made it kind of adventurous for us, and not knowing really how to, you couldn't use GPS because the GPS didn't know that that you couldn't walk into certain areas, because it didn't know that they had them blocked off. So it made things kind of interesting. There were lots and lots and lots of security. We saw military police.
Yes.
the South Carolina National Guard.
Our hotel was like security headquarters,
Right.
from Secret Service to
National Guard,
DC
FBI,
DC Police,
Secret Service.
Oh, and there were South Carolinians serving in the National Guard in Washington, D.C. So hats off to all of those first responders. One of the things people kept asking us about going, and even some people who were calling us, checking, how are y'all? Is everything okay? People were really concerned about safety. And and our families were too, really concerned about safety in being there. And I kept saying, being at the inaugural events, because this was my third one, and it feels like the safest place on earth. For those few hours, it feels like the safest place on earth, because you can see the massive security presence. And so it was good to be able to alleviate those concerns from our families.
Yeah. And the overall feeling that I had anyway, the experience and meeting different kind of people, and just the vibe, if you will, was it was very, very pleasant. Everyone was having a good time and excited. Obviously they planned to be there, so they were excited to be there. You didn't have really that many people that were complaining. We saw maybe a couple of people checking out of the hotel, and maybe after the change had been made, but everybody just kind of went with the flow and just adjusted their trip accordingly. We also went to the South Carolina Palmetto inaugural ball. We went to that event, and that was the night before the inauguration. That was an interesting experience as well. We adjusted our wardrobe after we had stepped outside to walk to the event, which again was it wasn't very far, but because of the blocks and the sidewalks and everything, we couldn't go like directly there.
No, there were no direct routes. Yes. Right. And even the Uber drops or the Lyft drops, because of the security zone was so far away from our hotel, because our hotel almost sat in the heart of the security zone. And in one direction, maybe a couple of football fields. That's what I would say, maybe a couple of football fields.
We would have had to walk further to catch an Uber than it was to actually where we were
to
going.
The location, right.
Yeah,
yes. On top of it being cold.
Yes.
It was the cold. It was
the wind was kind of crazy, and then there was my famous fall that I had.
Yes.
So we were
in her dress.
Yeah. So the sidewalks are like bricks, brick pavers or whatever sidewalk, and there was a couple of bricks missing, and I didn't see it, and I rolled my ankle, fell down, and within like 1.5 seconds. There were two I didn't see the National Guard guys. Vareva did. She turned around and saw me on the ground, and then the National Guard
that came in, and Tracy was saying, "Hold on a minute, let me get my arm straight." By the time she said, "Let me get my arm straight," they had lifted her up, placed her on her feet, and dashed.
And I never laid eyes on them at all. I didn't see them. So that's just how secure.
But let me tell you
how secure the area was.
How tough we were, though, and Tracy in particular. I wiped the smudge from her face off, and we kept on walking so that we could get to the ball. And so there is a level of persistence and tenacity, even in our beautiful ball gowns. We changed our shoes to go put on boots under our ball gowns.
Yeah, luckily we had on full-length dresses, so you couldn't see what kind of shoes that we had on.
Yes.
But we definitely, once we stepped outside, we were like, there's no way. Went back in and changed into some different.
And I want to say thank you to the Woodruff community and to our Facebook community who watched all of those live videos that we did. I think over 22,600 views of all of the live content that we brought to the community. And it was just fantastic to be able to brag about Woodruff and the growth that our town is experiencing, and
And we actually ran into, so when we were walking, we saw the National Guard. We knew they were the National Guard, and we stopped and we just kind of chit-chatted with them a little bit. We were like, oh, what state are you from? And they were South Carolina National Guard. And I look over and I see a familiar face. And I'm going to say his name. He's from Woodruff. He's in the National Guard. I ran into Michael Edmondson. And I was like, I said, are you from Woodruff? Because I knew I recognized him.
That face,
and he's like, yes, ma'am. And so anyway, that was very interesting because of the amount of people that were there, and to actually run into somebody from Woodruff. It was pretty cool.
It was. And then I ran into, leaving the hotel from the MLK celebration that was hosted by the Frederick Douglass Freedom Foundation or Freedom Association. They hosted a very nice MLK tribute breakfast. And leaving there, I met a husband and a wife from Colombia. They lived in Lexington for a little while, but they had moved to Texas. And we shared an Uber back to our hotel. It was our hotel, not their hotel, because they were trying to get to the rally, or they were just trying to get downtown to where the action was happening. And it was very nice to hear, they worked at Lexington, one worked in Lexington, the wife worked at the University of South Carolina. And so it was very interesting to see, like you said, the people were very nice, positive, and it was very uplifting. That's what it was. It was very uplifting. And so we were in this Uber and we got back, and I was trying to use my press credentials to get us through some of the security pieces, but as Tracy said, the security zone was so much farther out, and eventually they let us get a little bit closer because I did have some of the email correspondences, but it wasn't close. But it was great. I mean, met some South Carolinians, but that's how it's been every time. At President Obama's first one, it was really cold then. I remember that we had big fur coats, but this one was way colder.
It was so cold.
It was way colder. Yes, it was way colder. So,
and the people that stood out, the line for the rally went 3 miles, they said, and people were. That was the day that it was snowing and raining.
Yes.
And we could see the people outside in front of our hotel, and they had pieces of plastic over. They were covering themselves.
And they were bunched up, and I think at one point I heard somebody, because I went out and just kind of went live to talk to some of the people who were there about why they were there and their experiences, and some people kept saying, stop pushing, but it was just so congested because of the way they had the design of the lines, and the line was like 1.5 miles long.
Yeah, they had to kind of do little zigzags so they could compress it and make it where it didn't go on forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those were just some of our experience. Some of the serious things, though, that were happening there. I didn't see any protests. And I think based on where we were located, that's why we didn't see any protests, because again, we were within the security zone. But we did interview, and we went live on that interview, and we have a follow-up story in here. The Friends of Ambazonia seek U.S. support at the Trump inauguration. Thank you so much. At the Trump inauguration, and that was very interesting to me, and even the way that all of that unfolded, and to hear them share their story and hope and belief that if they can get their fight for independence before President Trump and his administration, that they truly believe that he can help them advance their own sovereignty.
Yeah, that was I don't know if I have a word to describe how that made me feel, to have that experience just to be sitting down at breakfast and someone come and sit down next to you and you just strike up a conversation and end up finding out the information that you do about somebody was truly amazing to listen to them talk about
their struggle
in southern Cameroon area. It's truly amazing, and we have a video of our conversations with them on our Facebook page. If you want to look at that too, that's still available out there. And then there's an article also in this paper.
And that's like, it's a real history lesson almost to hear how long they've been struggling to resolve this conflict. And then as we did our research afterwards to find out that the conflict in Cameroon, in southern Cameroon, is one of the top 10 humanitarian conflicts that's happening in the world right now. That was educational for me. That was informative and educational. I was really surprised at the optimism that the delegation even left Washington with, because we saw them one day when we did the interview, we saw them another day, and I don't know if they talked to who they wanted to talk to in particular within the administration, but I do know that they felt like they had accomplished what they wanted to accomplish there. And it was again eye-opening on people from other countries coming to the United States, seeing the United States as the beacon of hope. And with all of the struggles and problems that we have in our country, people want the freedoms that we have. The freedom to fight each other and not kill each other. Right, the freedom to disagree and still be friends.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
And even just like what the inauguration meant, the peaceful transfer of power, like watching that happen as in that quick period of time. I mean, it was less than an hour long, the actual ceremony, and to see the transfer of power happen and to know that there are delegates from other countries who want to experience that in their own country.
Right, and they were very enthusiastic about the Trump administration. And we're very clear about that.
Very clear, yes.
Yeah, they were very excited about what they hope to accomplish with the Trump administration.
And what they believe, the progress that they believed. I thought it was interesting when one of the delegates said, "We are tired of the fighting and the bloodshed and the atrocities where schools are being burnt down, children are being taken out of schools.
They're setting up their
military.
They're setting up military bases in the school. They're occupying the schools and removing the students from the schools and
teachers.
I suggest you watch the video. It's some of it's a little difficult to hear because of the sounds that were going on around us, but it's very, very interesting. And pick up an edition of the paper and,
so you can get
and
the
read
historic
about that.
so you get the historic context.
And it kind of brings a little bit of, something different to us here that we might not normally have been privy to or known about.
Right.
So I think it's very interesting. And we'll be following them along on their journey of trying to get the information out about that and sharing it with you guys along the way.
And yes, because they're struggling for their independence and we're struggling for what type of democracy we want to have in our country and how we're involved in this kind of fight when they're fighting for just the basics. Just to use their own natural resources. That was one of the stories that they talked about. They wanted to have the support of America because they have their own natural resources in their country that they want to develop to build out their own infrastructure. So I thought all of that was informative. That's what it was. It was informative.
And these, I don't know how, this is probably not going to show up that well, but these
some of the delegates,
are some of the delegates that were there and that we spoke to. And again, if you pick up an issue of the paper, then you can look at that and see who these individuals are.
And we're calling them delegates, but they were Friends of Ambazonia, a part of the Friends of Ambazonia Incorporated.
Yes.
So that was something that we did not plan. It was impromptu, but the relationship to help share their story is something that, as Tracy said, you'll continue to see in the paper.
We've also are going to be including once a month. We've been working with the city to get some information on the police department incident reports and also permits that are being issued and put through the city. So that's something new that you'll be seeing in the paper. We'll do that once a month, and we're just kind of giving totals so you can look and see what's going on there. We also
because this was something that our readers really asked us about, in going into the decision that transitioning from monthly to weekly, one of the pieces of information that the community kept saying, what's going on in the community as it relates to crime and incident reports. And this allows us to be as numerically transparent as what's available to us. And it's interesting. You can learn about simple assaults, theft, motor vehicle larceny, fraud, vandalism, drugs and narcotic violations, driving under the influence, liquor and violation laws, resisting arrest, domestic violence, and trespass notices issued. So it's information on what's happening in the city of Woodruff. And although we're reporting these things from one month to the next month, when you look at the context of the crime statistics in Woodruff, we are still one of the safest communities that is reported on several crime websites that we've looked at. So I think that's very important too, to know that although we're sharing these statistics and people say, oh, it's such a small town. It's a small town, but our police department seems to be growing.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of police department growing, you can see the information from the city council meetings on there, and they just had opened up a new, a couple of issues ago, we talked in the paper about the new detective unit that they have, and now they have a new tactical unit. So you can pick up a copy of the paper and read about the tactical unit. And then there's also some information about a disaster relief company that the city has received funds for to help with the recovery from all the devastation that Woodruff had happened during Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Because that's kind of like a preview for something that's going to be in the next issue too. And what about the Australia? The Australia story. That's what I was looking for.
It's on page 3.
Okay, let's go back to the Australia.
We had an Australia Day, and that was hosted at Stone Soup Storytelling, which is on Main Street at Muse 134 South Main Street. And that's the home of the Stone Soup Storytelling, and they had an Australia Day, and we have one of our new Woodruff citizens, Sue Lowry. She helped to kind of coordinate that and put that together.
And lives right here in Woodruff. And Catherine Kramer one of our contributing writer did an excellent job covering this story, and it'll be interesting to hear people talking about all the change that's happening in Woodruff, hearing the stories and the lived experiences of the different cultures that are represented in this community. And it's their community, you know, it's not just the Woodruff, they are the Woodruff community.
Right now, yeah.
Yes, and so it's a joy to be able to bring the different cultural experiences that people are bringing to this community and sharing so that all can be a part of it. So it was Australia Day, a national holiday that marked the first European settlement in Australia in 1788.
Yeah, and that was January the 26th, if you're wondering.
Yes.
That was Australia Day. And they also have, they mentioned, they have a readers club that meets on the last Tuesday of each month at Stone Soup. And they're also planning to do future events from local residents that are from other states and nations. So I guess that's the place to go if you want to, if you're interested in that, or you're someone who's from another place and kind of want to bring your culture to Woodruff.
To the
drop by
forefront.
and see the people at Stone Soup.
Yes, and send us a story. Reach out to us because we want to showcase where you've been to your Woodruff community on where you are now. So certainly feel free to share. And they do talk about motorsports in this particular story. We had a motorsport representative that was a part of this experience. So I'll leave that for you to read when you pick up your copy of the Woodruff Times newspaper. Thought that was pretty exciting that he visited here. And so that's that. And then our guys, our first responders from Trinity, we're continuing to spotlight and introduce the community to the first responders at Trinity. So you can read all about one of the responders in there. Give a shout out to the Woodruff Country Meat Center for being an amazing sponsor of the Woodruff Times newspaper and sharing. We have a great ad in the newspaper for the Country Meat Center, and so make sure y'all visit the Country Meat Center, and they brag about having the best meats.
And they do.
And if you've been in there, you've seen the variety that they have. And so, and the fruit and vegetables are just amazing. They come out of somebody's garden onto the shelf. I don't know how local it is, but it is really, really fresh. The fruit and vegetables.
And then the cakes they have at the Sweetery there. They have they have from Anderson, maybe, I believe. Anyway, those are really good, and they are Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to 7 p.m.
And even the flowers that they have in there are beautiful. You know, they have beautiful floral flowers in there. And special thanks also to Robbie Gwynn,
The Lantford Gwynn.
the Lantford Gwynn Funeral Home, for also advertising with us.
Also, one of our advertisers, Waters Tire. We appreciate your support, and you guys can visit Waters Tire off of 101. If you turn down going towards Greenville, past the McDonald's and the CVS. That's where Waters Tire is.
And also for our local business community, we are introducing classifieds, and we're able to do legal notices in the paper. So if you have a need to advertise legal notices or share legal notices, advertise classifieds, have items that you want to sell, please reach out to us on our website at thewoodrufftimes.com. You can find both of our email addresses there so that you can get that information emailed to us.
Yep. Also want to mention Liz's income tax service. Another one of our advertisers. We really appreciate your support. Also, we always have included in the newspaper our
Visions Plus.
Our Visions, we call it our Visions Plus, and it's some we talk about athletics and different types of things like that when it comes to the school, and we have lots of pictures and images that we share of our
Wolverines, our Wolverines,
student athletes.
Yes, and also shout out and congratulations to all of the student athletes who signed college scholarships on National Signing Day. Looks like 8 students from Woodruff High School signed their letters of intent, and we have a picture there of those students who signed their college scholarships. So congratulations to all of the student athletes who are able to play at the next level, a sport that they've well loved. And it's no doubt in our minds that through our championship mentality here in Woodruff athletics, that they are ready to compete at the next level in their sports. I think it's wrestling, baseball, football, track.
Yep.
So
Yep. And we also mention the powerlifting teams and our wrestlers.
Yes.
And then we have our roundup, our Woodruff roundup information that you can pick up a copy and read about what's going on with that.
And I don't want to, I want to really shout out, I think they're, no, not I think, they are 3A state champions, our powerlifting team. So the Woodruff girls and the Woodruff boys powerlifting teams win the Class 3A state championships. So we're always up to celebrate a state championship title here in Woodruff. So congratulations to the coach of that particular program for leading those students to a state championship. And so we do list out all of the students' names, and again, shout out to the head strength and conditioning coach, Coach Ryan Thomas, who we share with you the proud thoughts, the celebratory thoughts, and just praise the hard work and dedication that the athletes on your team, the powerlifting teams, demonstrated in that state championship competition. So congratulations. And we talk about the female competitors and the male competitors on the success at the state championship. So
yep, congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you. And then the wrestlers at the Spartanburg County Tournament. That's always a big one, going to the county tournament. I remember, people look at Woodruff as the little school, used to, as a little school, and Dorman and Spartan High and Burns were all the big schools in the county. And it's good to see Woodruff athletes continuing to dominate in their respective sports in the county meets, in the county competitions. So again, thank you to Garrett Mitchell, who does the writing for our sports content, and Jeremy for doing thank you, for keeping us informed with what's going on in local government, and Katina Rice for talking about the wonderful human beings that we have between Woodruff, Cross Anchor, Inauguration, and the stories that she shares with the community. I'm excited about a story that she's going to have in next week's paper, but we just want to thank all of the staff writers. If you're interested in freelance writing with us and you have an interest or an idea, please send us your resume, send us an idea that you have. If you're interested in writing, we're certainly open to it.
Yeah, we love when people contact us and give us ideas on stories they want to hear about. So definitely keep us included in that and let us know what you want to hear about. Also, we've talked about having guests when we do this. So if you'd like to see anybody sit down with us and talk to us and maybe have questions for somebody, let us know who you think would be a good guest.
That you want to hear from.
Yeah.
that you want to hear from.
That could sit down with us.
Pique your interest. And do want to give shout out to the photographers, because what would a newspaper be without quality pictures, photographs? And so like mother, like daughter photography and graphics, and Terry Spanks photography. Thank you so much for your continued support of the newspaper. And just thank you to our subscribers, man. It's really been a joy and a journey to bring this newspaper to our community, about our community, for our community, you know. And we try to bring things, we know that our mission is to be accurate and relevant about information that matters to those in our community. And so we want to make sure we keep hearing from you, because you certainly influence what we put in the newspaper.
Yes.
So it is on the shelves every week. There will be a new copy on the shelves every week, which is different than what has been previous. You know, you'd see one newspaper there for the whole month, right? Well, that changes.
Yep. Once a week now.
Once a week.
Yep.
And so by Fridays?
By Fridays, the newspapers should be on the shelves. And again, if you want to subscribe and get one mailed to you, visit www.thewoodrufftimes.com/subscribe. And you can subscribe, and we'll mail you a copy. And that way you'll be sure to not miss one. It'll be delivered to your house.
Because we're going to put the tea in the paper. We're going to have the tea. Also, if you don't want a physical copy, though, you can get a digital copy. And the way to get the digital copy is on our website. So, thewoodrufftimes.com. So some of the things we're going to talk about next week, the debris removal is a real big issue for some people in the community. We have noticed people have expressed concerns about the debris that's on their streets and in their communities. And we have some updated information that the city was able to provide to us, that those efforts are still underway. It is not too late for you to get the help that you need in getting some of that debris removed. So we'll talk about that next week. And although we've heard lots of rumors about what's going on up at the BMW plant, from what we understand, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. They are still building, is it 1 million square foot facility? You don't remember?
No, I don't remember. I think it might be 300,000 square feet.
No, I thought it was much larger than that. But
maybe, I don't know. If you know, tell us.
We'll certainly have
we
our
can go back and fact check
it. But they are still moving full speed ahead with that, and so we may have, just kind of remind people what's going in that facility. But based on everything that we've heard, everything is just full speed ahead. So we may be able to provide you with an update about that. We have an update about Duke Energy and what they are doing to kind of prepare the Woodruff community for the surge in power
that we're going to need.
And you'll see,
and you've been noticing that, I'm sure. If you've been driving around town, you've been seeing
the men out there
working on the power lines,
out there working on the linemen. So we have some additional details about that. And I will just say shout out to our city leaders, Mayor Gist, City Council for their visionary leadership on taking the steps to prepare the city for this change. Like, we're not just jumping in head over heels doing something. No, there's a lot of thoughtfulness.
And but to remember that you do have these city council members who represent you, and they're always there for you to reach out to and let them know, you know, if you have concerns or what's going on.
And the city council meetings are open to the public, and you can send an email to our city manager, Mr. Lee Bailey, to let him know that you want to get on the docket to speak if you have something that you want to say at a meeting. But from what I've heard, not even in addition to city council, but also those on the school board, they're available to talk. That's what we keep hearing. You know, they are available to you because, again, the preparation for the growth, we're living it in real time. And so we're going to try to bring you as much news as we can so that when you pick up a Woodruff Times newspaper, you know the information that you're reading is accurate. So that's one thing that we commit to you. We're not playing games with the news. There's enough fake news out there.
Right. And we're definitely sourcing the information, and a lot of times it'll kind of delay us being able to release something because we do want to make sure that we're providing accurate information. Don't want to jump the gun on anything, and there's a lot of stuff going on that has to be sourced. So
because one of the rumors that was out earlier this week was there were 200 people from ICE here in Woodruff are arresting someone. That was not true. We fact checked it.
Yeah.
And that was not true. We didn't see, there was no evidence of ICE in the community at this point. So please, if it's a rumor, if it's something that you've heard, feel free to reach out to us about it so that we can make sure that you have the accurate information, because with all the crazy things happening today, you never know what is taking place in the community. But the Woodruff Times newspaper can be a source to make sure you stay informed with accurate information.
Yep.
So,
and before we sign off, I just wanted to mention Tap 3 again. We kind of took over the little corner here inside Tap 3, so thank you, Tap 3. For letting us sit up in here and doing this today.
And if you would like for us to come and do a live from your business or from your organization, we will come and set up in your organization and share, you know, the news that we see happening in Woodruff. And again, you know, it's important to us that we're sharing information that you want. So please feel free to send that information to us. So this seems like we are coming to a close for the newspaper that is out in the community on this historic day for the Woodruff Times newspaper, Thursday, February 6, 2025 is volume 6, issue 66. And we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. Do we need to look and see if there are any comments that we need to respond to?
We can let's see. A lot of people watching. I don't see any comments.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us. And those who get to watch a little bit later on, the newspapers are out in the stores. You want to revisit those: Food Lion, Circle K, Dollar General,
Handy Mart, and mailbox store, and then the Dollar General, the 2 Dollar Generals in Enoree, and the Dollar General in Cross Anchor.
And always feel free to go to our website, www.thewoodrufftimes.com.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.